Not to mention, once again, risking everyone seeing that flying car again.
Firstly, it's not so much the risk of someone seeing it as much as the fact that Biff did definitely see it. But more to the point, Marty and Doc are planning to leave this reality in the next few minutes and erase it from existence. What does it fucking matter if anyone sees the car?
A walkie-talkie so we can keep in contact.
When the did you buy those?
Do you mean when, as in what time period he got them from, or as in what point in Doc's life did he buy them? Because I'm pretty sure he got them before he even tested the time machine, in case of an occurrence like this.
The manure. You remember that?
Why wouldn't you remember that?
When I first saw this video, I assumed Jeremy misspoke and meant to say, why would you remember that? But the text at the bottom of the screen clearly says wouldn't. So this sin is just mystifying to me. He just played the clip of him saying,
You remember that?
and he's asking why he wouldn't remember it. If anything, the sin should be why he remembers it, since it was 60 years ago and a humiliating, not to mention deeply unpleasant experience that I imagine most people would rather forget. So for me, this is both a sin for the mystifying question and a missed sin.
Biff literally tries to lift up Lorraine's skirt on the downtown square in broad daylight, and no one cares but Lorraine.
So basically, you're sinning the fact that Biff is acting completely in character here.
Doc, come in.
How the hell does Biff not hear this? He's not even really whispering.
Also, this is a pretty dumbass decision by Marty to choose this particular moment to radio Doc. Even ignoring the risk of Biff hearing him, the noise of the car and the radio would probably make it difficult for Doc to hear him. It's not even like Marty had anything particularly important to tell him that couldn't have waited until he got to the dance.
Marty, you must be extremely careful not to run into your other self.
Says the man standing literally in the center of his other self's lightning experiment.
Oh Christ, have I really got to get this clip out again? Where did I put it? Ah, here it is.
That's the joke.
1955 Doc has seen 1985 Doc's face and voice, which he knows from watching that damn video over and over in the last movie. So not noticing his future self here is bullshit.
I don't really disagree with this sin. I just don't understand why you think 1955 Doc would need to have seen footage of his 1985 self to know what he looked and sounded like. I'm pretty sure most people already know what they themselves look and sound like. You hear your own voice every time you speak, and you see yourself every time you look in the mirror.
There's no reason why Doc and Marty needed to risk anything tonight. It took 3 years for Biff to win his millions at the horse race, so why not wait till a much better time to get the almanac back?
Because the longer Biff has the almanac in his possession, the more likely he is to make note of certain results in it that he might remember even after losing the almanac itself. Biff only waited 3 years because he had to be 21 in order to gamble. He might have wanted to gamble long before that, but figured since the almanac had results up to the year 2000, he might as well wait until it was legal for him to do so. If, however, he'd lost the almanac before that, but he still had long enough to remember certain results in it, he might have been tempted to place bets illegally before 1958. He probably wouldn't have become a millionaire, but he might still have earned a decent amount of money. Getting the almanac before Biff even had the chance to properly read it prevents him from making any money at all.
Wouldn't Marty, aka Calvin Klein, be such a superstar here in 1955 that even in a leather jacket and hat, everyone would know he was the one that sucker punched a downed Biff?
Is there anything to suggest that they didn't know it was him? Heck, when Biff comes to and he sees Marty, he even says,
Yo!
So doesn't this mean that Biff doesn't become a pussy after this? He does after one lucky punch from George, but he sees Marty punch him and he's suddenly back to being an asshole?
Biff didn't just instantly change into a pussy, as you put it, because George punched him once. That punch, as well as George's refusal to walk away when he found Biff in the car, merely represented a change in George that meant he had the self-confidence to stand up to Biff from then on. This change in behaviour towards Biff over the next 30 years is probably what caused Biff to change. It's also possible that Biff is still an asshole towards others. He's just nice to George because he knows he will stand up to him if he has to.
You know what I'd do? I'd go over and tap those guys on the shoulder and then start running again. Besides, even if you get beat up, you have all the time in the world.
Oh right, so because you have a different solution to the problem to the one that Marty goes with, that just automatically means Marty's is wrong, does it? Also, your idea is kind of dependent on all three of them running after him, and I'm pretty sure Marty would rather he didn't get beat up.
These henchmen who are literally staring at Marty are unable to see Marty.
Maybe because their focus is on Marty. You know what I mean, the other Marty.
What is the deal with the weird new line readings? I mean, didn't they want to even get close to the originals?
Are you saying they aren't? I mean, it's the same actors, same costumes, probably the same location. The line reads are not a perfect recreation or anything, but I don't think anyone, except you apparently, was really expecting them to be.
Biff seems to be glad about committing murder, and he doesn't the least bit care that he just did more than $300 damage to his car right there.
The first part seems completely in character for Biff. As for the second part, I'm not sure what evidence there is of more than $300 worth of damage to the car. But even if there is, he probably is bothered. He's just relieved at that particular moment to have got rid of Marty.
This is the second time in this movie that Doc has ex-machined Marty from an aggressive Biff via the flying DeLorean.
This is also the second time you've chosen to ignore the fact that Doc knew where Marty was. He probably saw the whole car chase before they entered the tunnel. What's even more absurd is this time your previous point about how people might see the flying car would actually have been valid here, since they plan to go back to 1985 after this. Yet you don't mention that this time.
Wouldn't it be cooler if the whole matchbook just disappeared?
I'm not sure why you think a matchbook disappearing is cool, but more importantly, it's clearly a visual indication to the audience that the future has changed. The matchbook itself disappearing would have just been confusing.
Doc continues flying the time machine in a dangerous lightning storm long after dropping off Marty, and for no particular good reason other than setting up the sequel.
To quote Doc directly at the beginning of this scene,
But it's very miserable flying where there much turbulent to make a landing from this direction. I'll have to circle around and make a long approach from the south.
also, is setting up a sequel not a good reason?
Also, you could just wait until tomorrow. I'm just saying. There's no reason to risk anything right now.
Ignoring the fact that no one says they aren't going to wait till tomorrow, why is waiting till tomorrow less risky? What's different about tomorrow?
Here is one of the only sequels ever to actually include a trailer for the third movie as part of the end of this movie. Weird.
If by weird you mean awesome! Okay, so the sin total was 47. And, I don't have any kind of, sentence for them or anything. I just want to talk briefly here at the end of the video, because I am actually recording this having finished editing the video, and just watching it back, it occurs to me that it is kind of a bit too similar to the Cinema Sins style of videos that guy does. Jay, I think he's called. So, sorry, Jay, if you're watching, I've kind of ripped off your style a little bit. But you know what? We're kind of both copying Cinema Sins in the first place, so maybe that was kind of unavoidable. But yeah, I'll put a link to his channel and also another channel that does this kind of thing. Might be on the screen at the moment, actually. And also the original Sins video, just to make it clear that I actually do still kind of like Cinema Sins. I've gone off them a little bit over the last few years because I am starting to think, there's very sort of basic kind of things about storytelling and filmmaking that they just don't quite seem to get. Also the Sins videos that I've made, I am, like I said at the beginning, I am aware of the irony of me doing this. I'm just like, guys, oh well.